So I don't think of my writing as being anything grand or heroic. It's not how I write. When I look back, actually, I just feel it's my own quiet persistence of putting words to experiences that actually for decades were never meant to be spoken or never really allowed to be spoken. When I look back, I can actually see that every word, every story that I've written has been actually part of me reclaiming part of my own silenced territory. Right now, I'm writing a novel called Alice, which explores, funnily enough, what it's like to be in one's 60s and standing in a life that is both utterly familiar, but to me, utterly new. And it isn't about drama, it's about consciousness itself. It's about how a woman reconstructs herself when she is no longer willing to live through old survival strategies of how to get on in a society which marginalises women a lot of the time. It looks at, I think, themes like friendship, family, solitude, desire, fatigue. I suffer from ME, which is very inconvenient and is very annoying for me. It looks at my small joys, and it looks at the strange clarity that can overcome one as a woman when finally you just stop trying to earn your place in the world. In some ways, Alice is the story of what happens after a woman has found her voice, how she then chooses to live. And if there's a thread running through my work, through everything I write, it's this. A voice is not something you find that once and you've got it. It's something you return to again and again, especially after it's been interrupted. Writing for me is not about producing pages. It's about staying very close to the principle of what is true and what is necessary to be heard, and what I can help other people, not just women, understand. It's allowing the parts of myself that were silenced to speak in a way that feels grounded, coherent, and connected. And I want to say that if you leave with anything from today, let it be an appreciation of how hard won a woman's voice can be. We do not start from the same place. Some of us begin with decades of silence behind us. But voice has a way of emerging when we create enough safety around it and when we stay in compassionate contact with ourselves. And writing has been that path for me. And I hope, in some way, by listening to this, it creates space for others to recognise and reclaim their own voice, whether it be in writing, in art, in academia. Okay? So I'm now going to move on to reading some of my writing out. So this is the Are You Sitting Comfortably? Then I'll begin. And I'm tempted to read from a monologue because now I'm just about to turn what I've just said on my head. Because it's about a real incident in my life, but instead of taking it from my point of view, which was an incredibly difficult position to be in, I have taken it from what traditionally people will say the perpetrator's point of view. And it's called George and Alice. So, sitting comfortably. Keep an eye on the time. Okay. We met on one of the walks she was leading. It was like we had known each other all our lives. You should have seen the way her lovely face lit up when she saw me. We were the very best of friends. You see, at nearly 90, I felt so springy next to her. A young, vibrant joy to behold. And we chattered like two kiddies on a school outing. You see, she had this way of including everybody, shining a sweet smile and making you feel, well, like the bee's knees. And early on, she invited me round for dinner. I was nervous of not finding a house, so I went round a few days before and I checked on where her house was. When she drove into the drive with her husband, I tried to hide in the bushes. I know it looked a bit odd. And then, she helped me buy one of those phones. iPhone things and set me up with Facebook. Then I found I could see her page all the time. Hold on. I could see what she was doing and I could kind of follow her. So I told her that the best part of my day was at night time when I could open my phone before I went to sleep, look at what she'd been doing that day and feel like she was still with me. She continued including me in her social circle and my life expanded into a happiness I have only known in childhood. I phoned her every day when she went on her holiday. I sent her messages every hour. She did videos live on Facebook. Amazing, really. And I could listen in and know she was speaking right to me. I asked her to do them at a set time so that I could always see them live and know she was talking to me. She said she only had internet in the local park in Nicaragua, and it was in the next town, so it depended on when she was there. Well, I was really cross about that. I didn't like seeing them later. Then she started asking me to stop phoning and messaging her all the time. Well, that only made me miss her more. I'm so sorry, I said. I won't do it again. I hate to think of you being upset by me. But then the next day it hurt if I didn't at least say hello and ask her how her day has been going. You know, we were just too close to not keep in touch every day. After about 4 weeks, she sent me a message. Look, please stop messaging me. Just please stop messaging me. I messaged her back. I said, you know, did you mean this to come to me? She said yes. That she was feeling that her, how did she put it? Boundaries were being invaded or some such phrase. I wasn't invading boundaries. I was simply being her friend. Well, I sort of meant not to write so often, but then something would happen in my day. I'd want to tell her because I know that particular thing would tickle her. So I'd message her. I'd only send a tiny message. Well, at the end of the 6 weeks that she was away, I was feeling frantic. So I found out when she was arriving home. And as soon as she got home, I phoned her up. When are we going to meet? I'm dying to hear all about it. We've got to meet. Can we meet now? Can we meet tomorrow? Oh, she said, I'm really busy this week, but I will let you know. Well, I couldn't leave it like that. Well, no, I want to say, don't put the phone down. What's all this about me not messaging you anymore? You can't say that. That really hurts me. You're hurting me saying that. Please, she said, I'm tired. I've just flown on a very long flight. Let's not do this now. Do what? I'm only asking when you're going to meet. Well, she put the phone down on me. Then her friend messages and phones me. Can you not message Alice anymore, please? You are actually upsetting her. Oh, I explained I'm not. I'm her friend. I know that, but she doesn't want you to continue messaging her every day. Just think of it as having a wee break. But we can't have a break, I told her. Well, we couldn't. We're best friends. She said that Alice didn't want me to attend a yoga class anymore, nor attend all the walking groups she went to, nor turn up on Fridays at the cafe where she met her other friends. She was basically telling me to leave her alone. Well, as soon as I got off the phone, I phoned Alice. This ridiculous friend, I think of yours, rang saying some tosh about me not contacting you anymore. Now, what's going on? She said, look, I want you to stop. You don't listen to me. It's too much. I just want you to stop. Well, then she started crying. Oh, I said, Alex, we can fix it. You're just tired, love. Look, please, George, just hear me. I do want you to stop. When I say no or no more, you just ignore me. And again, she put the phone down. Well, then I felt totally ripped open. She was hurting me so much. So the next day I went to a yoga class and I knocked on the door and she went slightly white when she saw me. Look, please go away. This is really inappropriate. I shouted at her. I had to let her know how much she was hurting me. Look, I said, I'm not going. I shall stay here. Look, just please leave. This is really awkward. Look, listen, you have to go back to how it was. You have to meet me at least once a week. You have to. She replied that she didn't. She said that she didn't have to do anything. She obviously wasn't listening. She obviously didn't understand. She closed the door on me. Well, I stayed in the hallway till the end of class. And a student appeared who told me he was going to have to escort me from the premises. I shouted loudly so that she could hear. You're going to have to see me like we used to meet before. I'm not giving up. The next day, the police came round. I gave them a cup of tea. You know, they told me that someone was stalking her. I was horrified. Wouldn't you be? I mean, she's so friendly and happy, and now someone's stalking her. That is a terrible thing. Who would do that to her? I wanted to find out and give them a piece of my mind. You know, stalking is where you follow them home and pester them all the time. Awful business. So I don't know whether you want to make any comment on that. So that's the one that won the award last year or the year before, I can't remember. So we all laugh in the writing group that I can now say I'm an award-winning author because it was for a monologue competition. So, but what I wanted to say is I don't want to just say this man was driving me nuts. I wanted to get into his head. And actually there's a second part to that monologue, but it's too long to read out. But you've got the gist of it. And that's the dilemma we're in as women.
Yeah. So the person speaking is a man, George?
Yeah.
And Alice
is this woman in her 60s. Some woman.
Some woman.
And you used a different accent when you were reading, so was this to imitate the way...
Yes. It's actually, he's got a Derbyshire accent, but I can't do a Derbyshire accent, so I reverted to my own Yorkshire accent.
And he's in his 90s.
Unfortunately, he's dead now.
Oh.
And even more complex. I couldn't go to the funeral because I'd taken him to the police.
Oh.
But, you know, it was sad when he died.
Yeah.
I mean, as women, we're very caring and loving, and I just wanted him to be a bit reasonable, you know? But in the end, it had to go to court, and he had a restraining order placed on him. Yeah, he wouldn't stop.
But did he understand? I mean, now we're talking about the real person. But did he ever gain any understanding, or was
No.
So
it could be, we could say dementia. We could give him a lot of leeway. Also, I knew he was dealing with cancer. It's how he met me. I was leading walks for Cancer Centre near where we live. I have a lot of sympathy for the man. All I'm trying to say is, you know, when I say no, please just listen. Yeah. Story of my life. When I say no, please just listen.
But the irony is that you have an incredible amount of insight and empathy into his frame of mind, and then of course
he doesn't.
It never goes the other way.
He had room for yours.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good one to start with because you're getting the gist of it. All right, let's moving on.
It's actually very well done in the sense that it makes you think about it more than if the story had been told from
I think it's
from Alice's point of view.
And I think you would probably get more potentially empathy for Alice's point of view from the readers. Yeah, that way too, because you wouldn't get it doesn't come across as militant, but it also just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Having been in not quite that extreme a situation, but I think we've all dealt with people like that at some point or another, and I'm just
And I think, I mean, it comes into the memoir. One of my Achilles' heels is, as many of us, male and female, is that we grow up trying to be kind and understanding of others. And not only I was brought up Catholic, you're trying to understand where the other person is coming from, why they are getting upset, whilst they are becoming the victim, when actually you are the victim. And it takes, I've noticed, and I've been observing it in the different groups that I'm leading at the moment, that men seem to have a little bit of an easier, this is an overgeneralization, that they can say, right, no, like really, just, and then they can go into the really strong warrior mode. And so I'm trying to, I'm not exactly a warrior, but just being extremely grounded and making that boundary 20 feet thick. No means no, no discussion. But still, I find myself empathizing with the person on the other side of the boundary. But, we got a boundary there. Don't go and ask them, are they okay about that?
Point of view is every... Oh, sorry, guys.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, I think there's a huge difference between understanding why people do things and excusing it.
Yes.
I've had to learn that.
Yeah, and
exactly.
It's really nice to be able to understand, but make sure you never use that as an excuse.
I know. I'm learning that. I'm imprinting that on my forehead. Really remember this, Sarah.
Yeah.
Just because you get the fact that he's a psychopath or this person's or whatever doesn't mean to continue being nice to him. You can get him arrested, or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know we're probably going to be... Has anybody got on their screen how long we've got? How long have we been going for?
It's 10 over 10 according to his clock.
It'll come up when there's 10 minutes left on your screen.
Will it? No,
Yeah.
the screen's up there.
Oh, it'll
Is
come
that
up
what
then.
it is?
When
Okay.
there's 10 minutes left, yeah.
You think? Okay, well, I'm going to start, and wherever we lose you, take a breather, and then we'll start again on the second Zoom link, okay? Everybody got that? Yeah. So this is from Alice. I didn't know which... Alice is nearly finished, and she's going to need a lot of drafting, does Alice. Anyway, chapter 9. I plucked one at random, not necessarily the best. Sometimes a day will stand out in all its simple glory. And today is such a day. The crocus and daffodil spring has grown into this summer of loveliness. Is there anything so calming as lying on a picnic blanket on the grass, watching the occasional cloud lazily drift by, whilst listening to these happy, buzzing, industrious bees? Maybe this moment is enhanced by the knowledge that the days are free and her time is her own, and each moment is delightfully open to possibilities. I feel so happy and lucky, Alice announces. Eric grunts under his hat. I don't think I've ever been so happy. Eric grunts a slightly lower grunt under his hat, which sounds a little bit like good. Lying there with this awareness of being actually truly in this moment happy has Alice hugging the realization with not just gratitude but awe. How many people on this huge planet of ours actually feel happy in this moment? It feels like a privilege. Hard won, but shockingly glorious at the same time. Eric starts to snore. Alice follows the route of a very small black ant, preemptively checking the blanket out for the picnic crumbs. Another ant comes by to investigate the ant's success or lack of. And then Alice too nods off for a while. And this liminal state shimmers. There is a portal into dreams. More rumination, maybe some ponderings, hypnagogic images flickering across her eyelids. She twitches as an ant traverses her hand. The tickle slips her into a scene of a recent ding-dong, one that was far too dramatic for the quiet pub she'd been in. A friend, Judy, had asked about the rift that had occurred earlier in the year. Hi. And it was complex. The rift was possibly about Alice loving the friend deeply like a sister, but Jude treating Alice like an acquaintance. I think something we've probably experienced. Judy had actually prioritised a relative stranger over Alice when Alice was in deep distress and needed her friend. The stranger, actually, to add to the layers of complication, had caused the distress. Judy had been disinterested in Alice's feeling of huge betrayal, that the stranger was more important to Jude than Alice was, and Alice was left still hurting and feeling confused by the pain. Was it wrong of her to create such deeply loving friendships? Was it something that made her prioritise friendship in a society where someone's partner, for example, or family are much more important? And how is it that our society has so few categories of closeness? Partners, husbands, wives, friends, family, and yet the fracture of a close platonic friendship can have a profound grief that yanks painfully at the heart for years. In this dream state, this relative stranger keeps morphing into a parade of volatile persons who have littered her life. When, oh when, thinks Alice, am I going to learn to be more wary of people? The discomfort of various explosive interactions bleeds through more unstable dreams. The ant himself dislikes the hand tremors and wanders back onto the more stable lawn. Happiness, well, it still shimmers like the heat haze on the nearby cornfield, but the under-the-grass ant activity mirrors the undercurrent of the knots that Alice is still struggling to unravel. A loud snort from Eric jerks her awake. Judy has been the most recent friendship conflict, but Judy has reasons for why she is. An insect buzzes by and Alice languorously, I think it's a word, stretches her arms, still not fully awake. In a way, I'm almost her opposite. I perhaps create family members too easily. It's one of my Achilles' heels. Men become like fathers or brothers to me, women like sisters or mothers. Occasionally people are just friends, but it feels like seriously demoting them. A shadow from a lone cloud passes over the both of them lying on the picnic blanket. And the words come through Alice's mind. Yes. I get hurt when a close person treats me like a casual acquaintance. And when Eris awakes, poor man, she tells him her latest theories on her complex friendship patterns, and he says, "But dearest heart, it's also your strength. You love deeply and you love loyally." Thinks Alice. My Achilles heel is also my strength. Chapter 10. I think I'm going to close there just for a moment. It's really weird because I'm writing it, presuming I'll publish it and nobody will realise it's me. But you guys listening, I kind of blown my cover there. Yeah.
We won't tell.
You won't tell. Any comments before I move on? I'm kind of nervous of the time. I want to move on to Finn and the Starflower. Yeah, let's do that. So this is the one that I had to write before I could write anything else. It's in its third stage of editing in America at the moment. I really want it out there. I don't care whether people like it or not. No, that's not true. I care sincerely whether people like it or not. I'm just trying to tell myself I don't. Right, okay. I couldn't choose a bit, so I got somebody else to choose, and she said, just read chapter 7. Moradabad is a medium-sized town north of Delhi in Uttar Pradesh. To the east of it is the town of Bhopal, where many of Swamiji's disciples first met him when they were students. Swamiji is very kindly planning a trip there for us. We'll stay with their families and he will give talks. It sounds to me like a safe distraction. I will sleep in the same room as their daughters. So I should be safe. I think some of those disciples have helped finance this ashram, and they still do. This ashram's such a small place. There's the other monk who, from the sounds I've heard, also suspect is being mistreated by the guru. That monk doesn't speak English and seems to resent my arrival. And I'm not sure whether the cook sometimes stays over, but he's certainly here most of the day. The kitchen area is large enough to cook a feast for 100 or more. There are 2 charcoal fires, and there is a small dispensary which the non-English speaking monk runs at set times on certain days. It is in the far corner of the courtyard to the right of the door. I wonder if he knows what is happening to me. I also wonder if he carries the key to that massive front door. Swamiji is sitting in the courtyard stroking his beard as I go by to wash myself and my sari. I have 2 white saris. One I put on after bathing in the morning, and then when I wear it to lie down, and then I wear the one I've put on to lie down and sleep when sleep is possible. The other is drying for me to be put on in the morning after I have washed today's. You know, it really simplifies life. And to be honest, I really like not having to think about what to wear. I've got quite enough to think about. As usual, I pour the water from the jug over me and refill it at the tap of the water heater. I can't help being so glad that I sent the money from England 6 months earlier to install this water heater. Also, as usual, a shadow falls across the small square window in the door of the washroom. Swamiji likes to stand there and watch me washing myself. I turn away from the door, as I always do, and continue pretending he is not there. There is only so much one can cope with. I change into my clean sari and I hitch it up a little so that I can use my feet in the bucket to pound up and down on my other sari. And making the soap suds feels so fun. I'm getting it as clean as I can. On my way back to the room, I hang it on the washing line, ready to collect as I go past next morning. And you know, you may never understand, but these routines to me are soothing. A leads to B, and B leads to C, and C leads to D. I often sneak a glance at the main ashram door that leads out to the road. It is rarely unlocked. I've seen that supplies come in at different times each day, and families knock and are admitted. It may as well be open at the moment, as even if I did get out, where would I go? I have nowhere to run to that I can think of. My home, back in England, is now an ashram, where Swamiji's disciple David lives. I actually left my PhD program for this so-called higher path. Snort. I have given them all my money. It's a long story. He has my passport and my ticket. Strangely, his acts of snippets of kindness are keeping me alive. All my right side has started going numb, especially the outside of my right leg. It feels as though it's on fire. Yesterday, I was paralyzed for most of the early morning hours. You know, maybe I can't make it out. Maybe I will deteriorate until there's not enough strength or health in me to get myself away. Swamiji has gone back to sitting, stroking his long, majestic white beard. His fingers move through it thoughtfully. His extremely chubby cheeks look so like Santa that it's hard to think that he could ever be unkind. His black eyes glitter as I walk past, their gaze following me. Of course, it makes me shiver, even though it's an incredibly hot day. I know, this sounds trite, but I do shiver, and the hair on my arms stands to attention, and there is actually a corresponding rippling down my back. My body is trying to tell me something. maybe I had better formulate a plan. This wasn't the first trip I had planned to India. We had left Berkeley and my odd job as a nanny to prepare for that first planned trip. We'd had our shots, even the horribly painful yellow fever, which made my arm swell up like a vicious spider bite and gave me fever for 3 days. My arm looked like an elephant's trunk, which at the time I thought seemed vaguely appropriate. But when I got to Durham in the summer of 1985, my supervisor told me that terrace houses in the villages around Durham were going for £5,000. So my money for the trip went instead on my first home. That home is now an ashram. For heaven's sake, Sarah. I'd walked into the bank in Durham and took out my money in cash, and I'd crossed the road into the estate agent and handed them the envelope, and they gave me the deeds to my first house. And then I discovered it had a garden for an extra £100. So I walked back into the bank and I took out the last bit of my money and I bought the garden too. The house had no central heating, was basically 2 up and 2 down. It had an outside toilet and it had extremely dodgy electrics. And since we'd been away in America during the miners' strike, my knowledge of the politics and struggle and the reason why these houses were for sale was shamefully woeful. I was just relieved I didn't have to pay rent and had a home of my own with a spare room I could rent out, and it felt that I was ridiculously rich. I taught some adult ed classes to pay my other bills and learnt how to rewire my home. Replaster, lay a concrete floor, take down a wall, erect a new wall, install plumbing, install central heating, paint the building inside and out. The house had come with all the furniture, and next door, an ex-miner got free coal each week, and he used to leave some by my back door. "It's for ye wee bairns," he used to say. He'd even bang on the adjoining wall if I came home from the library late at night and didn't light my fire. It was their signal for me to, "Hey, come in and warm yourself by our fire and have yourself a cuppa." Their fire was stoked halfway up the chimney. It was toasty warm. If I came in late, I would listen to Alf's stories of the mines, and then Elsie, the sweetie, would make me a hot water bottle, and I'd collapse home to bed. Oh, those two were very good to me. Wouldn't it be grand if they could walk into the ashram and I could just say, "Help"? Swamiji is calling my name. He pronounces it slightly oddly, Sara, rather than Sarah. Sometimes he says it like the Sanskrit word for essence of the world, but today he's simply shouting it. "Bring your notebook." I go, I sit, I obediently write down what he teaches me. I still have that notebook. Don't ask. "You need not worry about your spiritual practice. It's my responsibility now, and I will carry you to the other shore in a comfortable and most safe boat. Do not worry in the least." And then a day later, you are progressing in the right direction, and all your experiences are true on this path. A day after that, "Leave it all to me, your guru. I will let you know all in time. This way the knower and the witness will disappear and full realization will come. Engage your eye in the work and service, and it will lose its strength, and you'll be able to surrender more and more to your guru." How could you think you're being sidetracked when I am leading you? You, whom I have led for eons. You, who are more precious to me than any disciple. You must have faith and trust and be sincere. Faith and trust in the Guru makes all come to fruition. And remember, the Guru is always right. Meditate on Lord Shiva. Shiva and your Guru are one. And tantric union with Shiva is the highest sadhana. These were his teachings in early October. Oh God, of course I fought back. I raged, I rallied, I argued, I spat fire. In daylight with other people around, delivering food, cooking, dropping by with gifts, I would battle with him in English. But his tactic all through October was to let me shout and argue until I wore myself out. I was still locked in. He'd then pat me on the head and assure me all would be okay. I would be safe now. "Swamiji," I'd say, "you sound so eloquent, yet my heart tells me you are utterly wrong." Saraji, are you sure it is your heart? Surely it is your mind, your ego self, fighting to get firm ground again. As I, your guru for eons, lead you deeper into the non-dualities of the deeper sadhana practices. No, it is my heart. You remember when I brought you a shawl to keep you warm at night. What did your heart say? Oh, I was grateful, Swamiji. Yes, that is your heart, knowing my kindness. You see, you are like a child. You need to be guided slowly. Don't think too much. It only makes you upset. And he sauntered off to have his feet touched reverently by his visiting householders. And under the tree in the courtyard, there they all sit, happy to be with him. He sits on his cot and he teaches them in Hindi, and they sit cross-legged reverently before him. And I go back to my room. I doze, listening to his voice. Suddenly, he is in the room by my bed. But it is daylight. People are here. This cannot be happening. I look at him and he stands there and he says, I am your guru. Follow me. Only by following me will you ever be saved. I can hear him still teaching in the courtyard. The lilt of Hindi is coming in through the window. How can he possibly be there and here simultaneously? This, my disciple, is proof to you that I say that who I am is who I am. I am out there teaching, and I am here in your room teaching you. For I am not restrained by form or matter. I am your eternal guru. Surrender to me completely, and you will be eternally one. And then he fades away, strangely dissolving from the edges. Goodness, this is getting rather crazy. Or am I getting rather crazy? I look up to the ceiling, and there is a crack right across it. Mr. Finn, the spider, of the title of the novel, has gone. I look under my cot in case he is hiding there. No. When I look back up at the ceiling, there is no longer a crack across it. Strong stuff, I know. Maybe I should have done a warning. You know when you do a warning and you say, I'm sorry,
Trigger
this,
warning.
yeah, trigger warning. This might be, I mean, I'm really trying very hard not to go to the core of what's going on here, but you can read between the lines.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's been difficult for me writing that is, of course, I don't want to dump on people. I don't want to trauma dump. But I do want people to realise, because, for example, that was actually a cult. I didn't know it was a cult. I was introduced to David through my PhD supervisor, and my other head of department was also involved in Durham. So it was extremely kosher to me. And my PhD was on spirituality and consciousness, and they said, why don't you go there for a year? But this is back in the 80s, before you could sue the pants off people. And I think initially I couldn't tell. Well, I eventually got out. Amazing. I'm here. Look, I'm here.
Yeah.
I got out. It took a while. It took 5 months, but I got out. And the thing that I'm trying to write in this novel is difficult because I'm trying to write it. I'm trying to understand why my psychology made me vulnerable. But I'm also trying to write about how, because it ends with me coming home. But for the next 20 years, I do not speak about what happened to me. And I think as women, we'll know why. It's changing. Now, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't changing. You would not know this. I would not want you to know this. But I felt at the time silenced completely. My parents said, do not tell anyone.
Oh, because you did tell them, and they told you.
Not to tell anyone.
Really?
For the shame it would bring upon the family.
Oh,
We know how we feel about that now.
Yeah.
At the time, I was alone, so it's hard. So that's why I say my writing's not just writing. I'm not just writing. I am, obviously, you can see psychologically processing things. It's quite an emotional topic. But do you think it's relevant to be out there? I suppose that's what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. Like, point of view and perspective is everything, I think, especially as women writers and as women in general. Because in the first piece that you shared, I was thinking about how you're sharing a male perspective from a female point of view as a writer, right? And so much that's twisted, and a lot of times women are in creative writing that are shown from a male's point of view. Like, how would that have been different if you were a male writing from that male's perspective? And my head is like, oh well, there's no blame happening in that piece, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
There's, like blame on the woman.
Yeah.
The woman's point of view, right? And that was like, oh, because I'm like, what is missing here? And I was like, oh, because we're so used to hearing why he thinks he's being egged on, or why he thinks he can do these things, right? I thought that was really fascinating. Yeah, but I think it's so relevant. I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you've never been manipulated in the way you were manipulated, you find it hard to understand, and so it's very important that people talk about it, because you fall. Anybody, well, I think almost anybody could fall into that trap of being manipulated.
That was what was so.
Yeah.
Really good point, because since then I've attended cult conferences, so understanding how it works, and not one person is immune to what's going on in the dynamics. And actually, quite often, if you're really, really intelligent, it's actually against your favour, because if you weren't, you'd just go an expletive and walk out. So I'm thinking too much. I'm thinking too much and processing it from different angles. But also, I really like the phrase, no one joins a cult.
Yeah.
If you'd said, this is a cult, I'd say, well, not blooming well going, But I was taught, you're doing spirituality and consciousness, you're doing a massive amount of meditation. If you go to this guru, it's highly recommended by all these people, it will improve your PhD. And so off I went. Apparently, the same thing had happened to a woman 15 years before in that ashram.
Oh, the same place.
And they knew.
And they knew.
Yes.
And they still sent.
Yes.
And you were how old? You were very young.
I was 26, but emotionally, I think, but much younger. I've had a kind of protected life in some ways. So really not accustomed to that level of bad things happening.
Well, you were probably more trusting in the world in the sense that you probably assumed everybody was of good faith.
Yes.
And so that's if you're yourself, good person in general, you expect other people to be also good people with good intentions.
Especially people that are supposed to be leading you.
Right, Your PhD advisor, you expect him to, have your best,
interests at
heart. Yeah. And so then it comes as a complete surprise when someone is actually kind of evil. It comes as a surprise. You don't expect to meet these people.
As the story progresses, I show how he doesn't think he's evil at all. I now know he has all the hallmarks of a psychopath. But, of course, no psychopath believes that they're evil.
No.
Oh, he also, because we're in chapter 9, but I show he has tremendous charisma. And I've only met one person in my life who has a similar charisma to him, and he's a very well-known politician in England, and whom I don't like. But the reason why he gets on so well is if you stand in a room with him, it's like a magnetic force. It's very, I don't know what it is. It must be, I've tried to research it, something to do with a limbic resonance going on at the front, that they're somehow, I don't know, it's very palpable. And he had that, so that complicated issues. And when I'm talking about it now, of course, with tongue-in-cheek, I am the great guru. I tell you, to sit in front of him with him going, cross-legged, I am the guru of the great, and everybody's bowing before him, and you're sitting there thinking, And I've often been in that position. I mean, as academics, we sometimes do that when there's a male guy sitting at the front going, and you're thinking, So, I mean, my quality and ability has improved enormously. And the nice thing is I did get out. But there was something else I wanted to say about, in the process of it, at first, I had very little compassion for myself. And of course, lots of people would say, why didn't you get out earlier? I had attempted to get out twice, and it had failed disastrously. So my third attempt had to be planned, and it took 8 weeks to get into position to get out. But of course, whenever I looked back on it, because I was young, because I'd not been trained in self-compassion, I had very mixed feelings about what happened. You know, so that I had my own silencing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Did you feel
Which was compounded by the culture around me.
So you were feeling like it was a bit your fault?
Well, at that time, sexual assault of any kind was often, you know, what were you wearing? What were you doing?
Yeah.
Why did you go there?
Yeah.
Why were you
put
in this
yourself
ashram?
Yeah.
What?
You put yourself in that situation, so...
Yes. And I was there. I knew what was happening to me, and I knew I was trying to get out. But, you know, I so feel that when we say, this is not okay, stop, at any level in life. Or if we say, actually, I did my best to get out. Actually, the problem doesn't lie with us. Mm-hmm. The problem, very obviously, lies in it's the disparity of power between the genders, and it's still there. So, you know, you're beginning your PhD, aren't you? I mean, you have got... I didn't finish my PhD for obvious reasons. I was in no fit state. However, you have got the potential to take positions up where you can continue this dialogue within this society that's still unconsciously trying to silence you. They're not conscious about it.
I think about that all the time, too. And like the self-silencing, because it just become like, well, what, I should have known better, or like I should have spoken up, or why didn't I do X, Y, and Z? And like the way that I was raised, and the way that because I always say I'm a recovering Southern Baptist. Like I grew up like very rural, and so I'm constantly fighting myself, even though I still know better. Whether it's in my writing or in academia.
So that is you fighting your voice, step by step, finding your voice.
Yeah.
And knowing that there are voices in here. One of the things that the cult awareness tells us is that we have voices that were programmed into us from way... I was brought up Catholic.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, when I upset this stupid man, I would go and apologise.
Yeah.
You know, it was programmed deeply into me. And the other thing is that because of whether it's Southern Baptist, Catholic, Hindu, Tibetan Buddhist, whatever, and I've kind of done most of them by now, is that you then have this magical thinking, which you don't know is not your own thinking. So it's almost like it can take sometimes years to tease out that is a load of dinkum. You know, that is bullshit.
Yeah.
And where did that come from? It's been going through your mind so often for so long and taken as a truth. So a lot of the at the moment we're trying to extract 2 people from a Tibetan Buddhist cult, but we can't because they're magical thinking. You know, they know that they have worked for eons to get the blessing of this particular teacher, and that they've got so many mental thinkings in place. We cannot yet they can't do a U-turn. That's what it felt like for me. I had to do a U-turn. When I realized 3 days into this ashram, I realized I needed to get out. But it took 5 months because the U-turn was so huge. You can't, if you're going 70 miles down a highway, you can't suddenly go the other way. It took me that time to do that bend to get everything in place in myself. Never mind, practically, to get out. So I'm kind of fascinated. I'm not giving up on these 2 people, but I can't reason with them. I just have to be a loving, caring presence.
Where are they? I mean, how do you communicate with them?
WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. So they do have phones or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes that doesn't make any difference whatsoever. But
No,
yeah.
no, but there is a method of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the first books I read after this particular incident was written by a man who'd followed Rajneesh, if anybody knows that. So that was back in the 70s and 80s. And it was called The God That Failed. And he took 22 years to get there. And, you know, we're talking about serious...
Oh, is that
No,
a warning?
that's a joining.
Anyway, do I need to wrap up? Is that it? I mean, like...
That's the same time zone.
So, yes, no, in that... So I just want to say those books, I haven't many of the books that have actually been published. Those, there's 3 stories in. And it's written... I was meant to tell you a bit about... If you pass me one, it says on the back. I was meant to tell you. So this was a group of women who are writing about their struggles, emotions and triumphs and trying to take the power of their truth. So we decided, yes, let's just get on with it. And it's about all sorts of things. Dementia, toxic relationships, menopause, later life dating, loss of friendships, loss of loved ones. One of our writers spent 3 months in a US jail because of visa problems. Exploitation in a spiritual cult. I wonder who that could be. Corruption and rural life in West Africa, and the hedonistic 1980s London drug scene. So it goes on. There are more as well.
With India,
What?
yours has an India subject.
Yes.
Is it the same?
My story in here from the book about India, Finn and the Starflower, is the chapter Hardwar to Rishikesh. But there are 2 other stories in here. One is actually Irene and the Boots that I wrote because I hate meetings. And we're having a meeting about doing this book. And I can't bear meetings, so I just started writing a story about my beloved friend who died of cancer when she was 52, about 13 years ago. But she'd actually asked for me to do her funeral because I'm a funeral minister, atheistic funeral minister. So I said yes. And her husband had insisted that she'd left me £200. And I said, I can't take it because, you know, she's my beloved friend and I'm very happy to do this. But they insisted. They gave me the money anyway. And I was going to give it to a charity. And then I walked into a shop and I've never bought something. I'd never up until that point bought myself something special. This is not that long ago. It was about 15 years ago. And there were these boots. They were Uggs. They were Ugg boots and they were like £180. So now they're probably nearly 300. I mean, you don't spend that money. I don't. But I could feel Irene next to me, you know?
I'm telling you.
And she'd done it to me before. She'd actually made me go and buy a towel when she saw the state of my swimming towel. She went, we are going to a shop, we are buying you a towel, and you are keeping the towel. So I could hear her in my mind going, these boots will keep your feet warm for many decades. I still wear them. For many decades. See it as I'm buying you the boots. And I walked out the store not buying the boots. 10 minutes later, I walked back into the store and bought the boots. So it's called Irene and the Boots. But it's also about perimenopause, because I was perimenopausal at the time. But that story was because I don't like meetings.
What's the India story about?
The India story is the same as that last piece that I read. It's about being in an ashram and trying to escape an ashram.
I was going to ask how, when the guru appears in 2 places.
Yeah, how did he do that? To this day, I'm not entirely sure. Lots of things like that kept happening. At one point, I lost 3 stone in weight.
Wow.
I was paralysed down my right side. I mean, I was desperately trying to get out, and I was physically losing it. Yeah. And it was the 80s. You can't phone home. You can't send a text. I had nothing. So what happened? What did you say? Where are we going?
How could it be?
Oh yeah. So I decided to fall back into my child self for a while, who was brought up to say Hail Mary. So I was very much asking, please stay with me, protect me, keep me sane. I need that feeling of a mother protecting me, and I would continue saying these prayers in a very simplistic, childish way. And the whole room turned pale blue, the colour of Mary. The walls became pale blue. It was extraordinary. It lasted 3 days. And of course, as part of my mind going, I am actually going mad. I think. I have to get myself out of here. Lots of strange things. He would do peculiar things and you'd think, okay, he is for real. Or he's a great magician. Or I'm going mad. And in the end, I didn't. This is the difficulty, actually, that I don't normally tell people. I didn't know whether to leave or not. So what I did was I planned for 8 weeks and set it in motion that the people from England and the people, his main devotees would come and we would celebrate the fact that I was now there and that everything was right in the world. So they came, and my plan was I would tell them what was happening to me and they would tell me if I should leave. That's how bad it had got.
Oh.
And for 25 years I couldn't tell people that because it just sounds so crazy. So they came, and the first one I managed to get to talk to 3 days after he arrived, and I told him, and he said, you do whatever the guru tells you.
What? Who? And this person was someone.
Yes, don't go there, it's just horrific. So I thought, oh yeah, I thought so. I know, it's just me, I just don't like all this, it's just me. I was broken by then, I admit I was broken. And then the next night, I didn't give up because I'd called 2, very clever. So the second night, I asked the second person, and of course Guruji was watching me closely, so I said, you're going to have to meet me in the bathroom. So I met him in the bathroom, I told him what had happened, and he went, Sarah? And I went, yeah, I know, I'm English, I don't like these things, I don't understand all this, and I don't know. And he said, we have to get you out of here. And I went, what? And he said, we have to get you out of here tomorrow. And I went, really? Like, this is great. And he said, I'm really sorry to tell you, he did this 15 years ago. The woman is still in a mental hospital. Her brother walked in on it, and he hung himself.
Her brother?
Yeah, because of the shame of what was being done to his sister. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I got out. It wasn't the end, unfortunately. I thought you draw a line, and then I go back home and I complete my PhD. Didn't happen like that. Anyway, we've come to the end of time. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Sabine. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Peter, even though you were terribly late. And
Out late.
yeah, very Peter. And I'm just really glad that you came, because this is my first attempt to come out, really, and say this is what I do. Because people ask me, what do you write about? And I always think, oh, shit.
Do I really want to tell you?
Do I want to tell you? It's easiest with Alice, because it's a novel.
So this story from India will be in the Alice book, or is
No.
it a different book?